Hello, please. There's a wound most men never talk about. Not because it's small, but because it's so deep, so familiar, it becomes invisible. It's not a gunshot wound, not a scar from war. It's the absence of a man who should have been there, but wasn't. A missing voice, a missing presence, a missing mirror. In the US alone, over 18 million children grow up without a father in the home. That's 1 in 4. But this isn't just about numbers. It's about consequences that ripple across a lifetime. You don't have to hate him. You don't even have to remember him. The absence is enough. A man without a father is a house without a frame. It might look fine until the first storm. Some fathers leave. Some were never there. Some were present, but never really present. And some cause more damage by staying. This video is not about blame. It's about the wound, because you can't heal what you haven't named. Part 2. The father role. What is a father? Not just a provider, not just a protector. A true father is a psychological anchor. He defines the edge of the world. Carl Jung called the father the lawgiver, the one who sets limits, the one who says no, the one who tells the child, there is a line, cross it, and you'll face the consequence. Without that line, a boy grows up in a world with no gravity. He floats, he drifts, he guesses what a man is supposed to be. The statistics are not soft. 90% of homeless and runaway children grew up without a father. 85% of youth in prison, fatherless homes. 63% of youth suicides, no father figure. 70% of high school dropouts, same story. But this isn't just about crime or poverty, it's about structure. Boys without fathers don't just lose direction, they lose definition. Robert Bly wrote, "The boy who grows up without a father lives with a hole inside him, a hole he will spend the rest of his life trying to fill." And that hole can be filled with screens, addictions, approval, or violence. Not always, but often. Because without a father, a boy learns freedom, but not boundaries. He learns desire, but not discipline. He learns how to want, but not how to become. Part 3. The Fatherless Generation. What happens to a generation of men raised without fathers? We're living through the answer. Masculinity has become a punchline. Responsibility, optional. Initiation, gone. We've replaced fathers with brain social media mentors, dopamine rituals, therapy language with no structure, and mothers doing everything. But no matter how loving a mother is, she cannot give the masculine code. Barack Obama grew up without his father. In his memoir, Dreams from My Father, he writes, "Even in his absence, his presence remained as an idea, as a question. That question lives in millions of men. It becomes the silent engine behind their ambition, their rage, their need for control, or their total surrender. Because when there is no one to show you the way, you make it up. Sometimes that means you fight for your life. Sometimes that means you never start living it." Part 4. Symptoms of the wound. What does the father wound look like when the boy becomes a man? It looks like a 32-year-old who still says, "I'm not ready." It looks like a man who dates endlessly but can't commit. It looks like someone who builds a body but has no spine. It's the adult who still needs permission to begin. Carl Jung wrote, "The boy flees into comfort and illusion. His masculinity never wakes up." These men aren't always weak. They can be charming, clever, even successful. But under the surface there's confusion, avoidance, grief. Some collapse into addiction. Others become aggressive, desperate to prove they're real men. Some obsess over women, others avoid them entirely, because behind both extremes is the absence of a mirror. Mike Tyson never knew his father, raised in chaos, uncontrolled rage. He once said, "I was born angry. I fought to survive. But inside, I was just a scared kid who wanted to be held." That's what happens when no one shows the boy how to carry his fear. He carries it anyway, as violence, as silence, as collapse. Part 5. Mother without the father. What about the mother? Many men say, "She did everything. She raised me alone. She gave her life for me, and she probably did." But here's the truth. A mother can love, but she cannot initiate. She can protect, but she cannot separate him from her. Carl Jung warned, "The man who remains tied to his mother stays a boy, no matter his age." Robert Bly called it the swamp of the too good mother. She means well, but she holds on. She smothers with love what the father would have cut with truth. In the absence of the father, the mother becomes everything. And that's the problem, because the boy doesn't learn to break away. He doesn't learn to fail, to fight, to bleed, to aim. Instead, he becomes emotionally fused, dependent, afraid of hurting her, afraid of life, and the result, a grown man with soft edges, with no boundaries, with a voice in his head that still whispers, "Don't leave her, don't upset her, don't grow." Not all mothers are overprotective. Not all sons are weak. But when the masculine line is broken, even the strongest mother is carrying a weight she was never designed to hold. Part 6. Consequences across time. A man without a father doesn't just lose his childhood, he loses a link in the chain. And if that chain is not repaired, the wound is passed down. Studies show boys raised without fathers are twice as likely to become absent fathers themselves. Girls without fathers are 7 times more likely to become teen mothers. The absence repeats, silently, automatically. One generation loses the father, the next loses direction, the third loses identity. Carl Jung warned, the archetype will reappear, but in distorted form. The son becomes reactive, not grounded, aggressive or passive, self-absorbed or self-erasing. And the most dangerous part, it feels normal. Because when the father has been missing for generations, his absence no longer feels like a trauma. It feels like culture. We stop asking, "Where is the father?" and start saying, "This is just how men are now." But it's not. This is not nature. This is the result of breakage, not just personal, but generational. Part 7. The missing initiation. In every ancient culture there was a moment when the boy had to die so the man could be born. It was not gentle. It was not optional. It was not safe. It was called initiation. In African tribes, boys were taken from their mothers at night, left in the forest. They faced trials, fear, pain. When they returned, they were not allowed to sit on her lap ever again. They were men. In Sparta, boys entered the agoge at age 7. No comfort, no mercy. By 18 they were warriors, or they were gone. In medieval Europe, apprentices served masters, endured silence, failure, repetition. They earned their sword, they earned their name. All initiations had 3 parts: separation from the mother, from comfort, ordeal, pain, test, chaos, return, with structure, identity, mission, and now, TikTok, DoorDash, emotional safety, therapy with no trial. Robert Bly said, "Where initiation is missing, men remain boys in men's bodies, loud, restless, and lost." Part 8. Rebuilding the masculine line. So what now? What do you do if your father was never there? Or worse, if he was there, but did more damage than absence ever could? Some men are raised by ghosts, others by tyrants. Some never met their fathers, others wish they hadn't. But here's the truth. You can't change who raised you, but you can decide who you'll become. Robert Bly said, "The man without a father must carry two burdens, the wound and the task to become what he never saw." Part 9. Personal reflection. Let's stop talking about society and start talking about you. What's your story? Was your father absent, silent, unpredictable, a shadow in the hallway, or a volcano in the kitchen? Maybe he was physically present, but emotionally gone. Maybe he provided, but never protected. Maybe he disciplined, but never loved. Whatever the case, he shaped you, or failed to. And now you carry that silence, that doubt, that invisible ache. Ask yourself, why do you react the way you do? Why do you chase what you chase? Why do you run from what you know you need? The father wound isn't just pain, it's a pattern. A man without a father often becomes a man without direction. Or worse, a man who pretends to be strong, pretends to be in control, pretends to be unhurt, but deep down, still waits for a voice that will never come. Part 10. Conclusion. Do not wait. You didn't choose the absence. You didn't write the silence. You didn't fail him. But if you do nothing, the wound becomes yours to pass on. The next boy won't just inherit your DNA. He'll inherit your avoidance, your anger, your unfinished story. You need a decision to take responsibility, not for the past, but for what comes next, to build what was broken, to end what was passed on, to raise yourself and then raise others. Didn't tell you who you are, but you can choose who you become. The man begins where the boy bleeds.